Do you like anime? If you're a US citizen or someone who is a foreigner to Japan, do you like the feeling of being able to watch productions from another country that have all the elements about storytelling that you realize is missing from your own region due to extreme overcorrection, lack of passion, or straight censorship? Yeah, well, me too. Just imagine having a genuine escape all of the chaos in the West, immersing yourself in anime, and feeling grateful that the people who create these anime are putting their best efforts into their productions with great character development, storytelling, and even the concepts. Then, some people start entering the Japanese animation space, potentially contaminating and undermining everything that you cherish and hold dear. How would you feel? How would you feel when, like locusts or a plague, you leave an area that is totally infested and beyond saving at this point, seeking refuge on some isolated island far away from all that chaos, and then some infected individuals manage to follow you there, swim across the ocean all the way to where you are, ultimately spoiling your utopia, and escape until nothing remains. Not even the seas can shield your cherished escapism from the plague of entitlement and the destruction of beloved franchises. That seems to be what's happening with anime, or at least this seems to be what's happening behind the scenes. You can usually tell when things are gradually happening, and other people will try to make you believe, no, it's not, and they'll gaslight you into thinking you're crazy, and that it's only one occurrence in a sea of many occurrences where that's not taking place. They tell you you're a conspiracy theorist, and that's not actually happening. That's an isolated incident.
You're crazy. Crazy.
The thing is, you've seen it with your own eyes, and you've seen it growing exponentially. And many people have as well, and it seems a bit weird when there are thousands upon thousands towards millions of people recounting the exact same thing that you all see. At the very least, is it not at least worth looking into? I love anime, and my cousin actually got me into it when I was very young. I remember the first anime I saw was late at night, and it was called Princess Mononoke. I didn't watch the entirety of it, but one thing that did stand out to me was how real the characters felt and the wolf's head getting chopped off. Don't remember what led up to that point, but I do remember Princess Mononoke because I sat there and absorbed all of it. I remember thinking to myself, what is this godly cartoon that portrays people so realistically and yet can present fantasy elements really well to keep me engaged and not make me feel like I'm losing brain cells, to make me feel like there's an actual purpose to what I'm watching. That is the first time that I saw Japanese animation. Then years later, when I was babysitting my cousins, I watched them enjoy shows like Naruto and The Last Airbender. I think they had like a collection of it, which is very expensive, I think. Now, I didn't watch any of those, but the few times I did sit down and observe a little of it, I realized that this was a completely different realm that I had yet to tap into. Then I watched Summer Wars, and from then I realized the trend. I enjoyed every single story. Even though some anime is better than others, I admit, there's never an anime, personally, that I watched where I didn't care about the characters or they didn't flesh out the world in its entirety. Now, I'm sure they're out there, but the fact that I can pick up random anime, which I have, just to try them out on a whim, 9 times out of 10, I walk away feeling fulfilled or walking away seeing that the story is well made. And that's just crazy to me, because most of the time with Western media, it's the complete opposite. Unless we're talking about horror movies, which are a dime a dozen. Most movies I've seen in the West nowadays are absolute trash. I have to go to the old movie catalogs to get good movies. And maybe that's just the luck of the draw for me, but it got so annoying to the point where I more so either seek out indie movies or anime and TV shows, because regardless of whether or not an anime is mainstream or not, I'm usually never disappointed.
I love this.
One of the things that draws me about anime is the cultural differences. I don't live in Japan, and it's interesting to see the world and elements about that culture in anime, the way they speak, their social interactions, relationships, and just overall society. I like feeling like I'm traveling to a different land or a different world, because the truth is Japan is a different culture. As a mostly homogenous society, people who grew up in Japan learn to respect their elders, to be polite in society, and also to take pride in who they are. I'm not saying every single Japanese person is like this, but it's a general expectation, and that is a strength sometimes of a homogenous society. People all grow up with the same cultural upbringing and similar beliefs. While there are downsides to that, I understand, it also helps the country to be stronger and progress easier because most people are on the same page, at least in certain regards. This seems to be the case with animation and many of their games, except for the monopolies that have become so successful with Western audiences that they've become bored and complacent when making anything new. I talk about that in my video called Pal World Proves Passion Prevails. Try to say that 2 times fast. So because everybody pretty much knows what they're getting with anime, there's been a lot of people who are leaving Western media to get their fill of storytelling and adventures from Japan or Korea or other countries that are putting out works like this. And Japan has their own thing and America has their own thing. And pretty much the saying is Japan will do what they do over in their country and America does what they do in their country. And that has been fine. But I noticed something as of late that I touched on in another video. and it's the translation.
They're not gonna get away with this.
Look, I understand sometimes if there's not a word in English and you're translating from Japanese, you might have to substitute what you think it means. I think it's easier just to use the English words because in English that's what we do. But recently, especially as I've been learning Japanese here and there, very, very basic Japanese, I mean phonetically because I can't even read it. When watching anime or Japanese movies, but mostly anime, I notice that there are little changes here and there that just don't make sense. There are words, for example, in Japanese or phrases in Japanese that are just completely changed in English to mean something completely different. And for me personally, they seemed pretty harmless at first, albeit very annoying. For example, if somebody would say arigato, which means thank you in Japanese, that's all it means, you would see the subtitles say something along the lines of see you later. Now, while that might be harmless to some people, it is highly, highly annoying to me because I know well enough that the word arigato means thank you, not see you later. Matane or jana is something that somebody would say if they're telling someone to see you later, not arigato. And I've seen little things like that here and there, seemingly harmless. Now, because they were just very isolated cases, and I've watched so many anime, I can't tell you exactly which anime did that. I know that I watched Maid-sama, and I think that was one of them. It's also hard to pick it up in manga because you're not hearing what the characters are saying, and you just take the English translation at face value. But in anime, I remember thinking to myself how very annoying that was, and I never expected that this would be something that people would do on purpose. I never thought it was. I thought it was just an innocent mistake, and chalked it up to being a very minor inconvenience for somebody who wants to learn Japanese. Actually hearing people admit that they're being disingenuous in their translations of a Japanese work of art just astounds me. I'm still reeling over that. The sheer entitlement and shadiness that someone has to do something like this when they know that if someone were to do this to their work, they'd be very upset. It's just staggering to me.
It's audacity. You had the fucking audacity.
Some YouTubers have mentioned this, and I figure it's a very important discussion to have because if Japan starts going the way of the West, we're gonna lose things that we love, and they're gonna lose a lot of money as well. The escape that they have successfully provided for everyone for a very long time, they're gonna lose that. There are movies here in the West that have very problematic messages, and the creators of these shows just straight out tell the audiences to shut up and don't watch it. Yet, these people don't keep the same energy for the Japanese productions. Imagine not having your shit together in your country and then going over to somebody else's country who has success with people, audience members you told not to watch your stuff or that you don't agree with, and then telling this other country that they need to change their stuff to get down to your level. It's very bizarre. You see this in the entertainment sphere in general. I've just recently seen it in the gaming sphere as well, but you also see it in the movie and TV show sphere, and now it's traveling over to anime, and it's not even their work. That's what really kills me. So, because Japanese animation is for Japanese audiences first, surely enough, there are times when they cannot get the English dub or the subs out in time, or you're waiting for the dub for a while, well after when these Japanese animations have come out. So there are people who actually are called localizers, and they translate the Japanese language to the local language, which is English in this case. People who have either learned Japanese or know Japanese, and they translate it so that people who are English speaking and don't know Japanese can understand what's being said and can enjoy these anime. I don't listen to dubs. It's very rare that I do, and if I do, it's only because I'm watching it with somebody else, maybe my husband or a friend, and that's how they want to watch it, and it's so excruciating to listen to. Like, imagine my voice, but times 10. And so I look at the subtitles, but I've also learned a bit of Korean reading the subtitles, and the same thing with Japanese. I pick up phrases in Japanese because the best way to learn a language is surround yourself with that language. So when I am seeing or hearing Japanese people saying something, I expect it to be translated exactly how they're saying it. It's very disingenuous when someone is saying something and you tell the person who doesn't understand the language something completely different, putting them at a disadvantage and not allowing them to absorb the art as it was meant to be consumed. So here are some clips that are being shown and being propagated by some other YouTubers and people on Twitter. And this person shared and prefaced saying, this is a clip from NIS America's stream where they admit to censoring anything that makes their localizers uncomfortable, and further stating that their localization is often better than the original. This sheer impertinence knows no bounds, I'm telling you. But this is just based on the captioning. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth, and maybe we can get their perspective on things.
Sometimes it'll be jokes, Japanese jokes
Form
might
up!
have a
Iron
little
will
different
formation!
values than we do.
Yeah. So things like we try to kind of work around things that might be a little sexist, for example, like in Japanese humor.
Activate fire.
And with those things, we like to try to make it more culturally appropriate for our players.
And that doesn't mean it has to be made less funny either.
No, not at all. We can work in something even better sometimes.
Let's go.
While I'm sure in their minds they believe what they're doing is noble, it is out of line and very disrespectful. An analogy is this. Let's say you have your parents coming to live with you for a while. Let's say your parents are old, you're older, and they have certain health issues. Doesn't matter, that's not important. What's important is you need the place clean. You arranged your house a certain way so it can be presentable to your parents, but also accessible to them in the way that they want it. You hire someone and you tell them, leave everything as it is, just clean the house. Don't rearrange anything, just clean it. You don't even usually tell housekeepers this or people who you hire to clean your abode because it is expected and understood that if the person is asking you to clean their house, that is their job, not to rearrange and redecorate. So you're out of town, but you left the key and your parents call you and tell you the house is beautiful, thank you, but what's going on with the setup? We wanted it a certain way and we can't reach certain things and our back and our hips and what have you. And you're wondering to yourself, no. I arranged everything in a way that is accessible to you, that would make things easy for you. What are you talking about? And they send you a picture of the house. And it looks clean, but it looks totally different than how you set up everything. The furniture is all over the place in different spots where it just doesn't make sense for it to be based on the fact that your elderly parents are living there.
You had one job.
So you call the housekeeper and you're like, hi, and she replies, hey, and you're so confused. And you say, I asked you to clean the house. To which she replies, but I did. But you say, yes, you did, but you also rearranged it. I didn't ask you to do that. Oh yes, but I made it better because it didn't make sense for the TV to be here and for that little odious ramp thing to be in the middle of the living room, so I moved it off to the side. And you have to go into explaining to this person, which you shouldn't have to do, that the reason why you had things set up the way you had them set up is because your parents are old and they have neck and back problems, and so everything was placed a certain way specifically for them, as is. Why did you not leave it as is? And she's flabbergasted at your reaction because you should be grateful that she made it better according to her preferences. She thought that your house wasn't arranged in the way she liked, and so she took it upon herself to go the extra mile to rearrange it in the way that fits her, even though the house and the setup wasn't made specifically for her. If you think that person is out of line, then you'll understand where certain people are coming from with the translation. I know it's probably not the best parallel, but that's how I feel looking at this stuff. There is a person named Hiro on Twitter who's very talented, and he makes animations, and he basically takes my audio of me voice acting the characters and just putting animations to it. Now, his work is the animation. That is transformative. That is his work. And he took what I described and made it visual, which was amazing. It would have been very disrespectful to me for him to take my animation and then use different voices to make the characters say different things, but it's my work, and if he like AI'd my voice to make them say things that sounded better to him. Now, while yes, that's transformative, but if somebody's paying you to do a job, or if you are releasing this to a wider audience, it is very disrespectful for you to take the original person's art and say that it didn't make you feel good about yourself, or that you found it to be sexist, or you found it to be problematic, and then change it to suit your liking. You were only one person, and this person, if they did not intend for their work to be altered in that way, it is disrespectful and entitled and very rude of you to take it upon yourself to do that. If any of these people had made works of art, they would not like people taking their stuff out of context, which is what you were doing with these people's art forms. If it is sexist to you, I understand you have a right to feel the way you do, but then make your own works then. You can criticize it, definitely. You have every right to criticize it and tell the creator and the people who watch it, this is what I thought about it. I don't like it because I feel like it's sexist. But to go and change the person's art, because it's essentially what you're doing when you translate it and put in your own phrases with no peer review, it's kind of seems as though you're looking down on the creator and the country as a whole. And I'm telling you right now, like, if Japan goes in the way of the West, because some people are saying, well, some of them are trying to cave to this because they think this is what Western audiences want. If they go that route, they are going to end up in the same situation as a lot of studios now that are losing so much money and people are leaving in droves, mass exodusing to other foreign entities trying to find entertainment that has substance and quality. If you start changing your work to suit everyone because people find it offensive, then your art is already dead. As an artist, I'm sure that everybody has gone through this. people criticizing your art, criticizing your original characters. I've had people criticize my art and my audio fan fictions because it offends them. Even though it's based in a fantasy world, they don't straight up say, hey, this makes me uncomfortable and, you know, this is what I think about it, but they straight up want me to change it and try to guilt me into changing it. And that's kind of what these people are doing with the Japanese creators. And it's very sad that some of them feel like they have to cave to this because they believe, maybe on some level, that most Westerners think like this, and I'm telling you, they don't. Many of people overseas don't see what's happening in the entertainment industry here, how much money the studios are losing, and how awful they are to the audience, and how the audience is just tired of it.
For example, like with game localization, you're usually doing it, there's going to be an English dub. None of the Japanese source material is going to be available to the player. So you can get a lot more creative with it. You can, you know, adjust the cultural interpretations as you need to. At some cases, you can even contact the developer and be like, hey, I want to change this little visual aspect so it works better with our culture. So you have a little bit more control over what the player is going to experience as a localizer.
Situation that would get mocked into oblivion. They say the amount of angry weebs still mad at translators and localizers disrespecting the source material when bro can't even read the source material. Ooh, what a burn. Except this is totally tone deaf and you're mocking your own audience. So here's some of the replies. This one ratioing them, saying, enjoy losing your job to AI. Nothing of value will be lost. Yeah, do you guys see why it's hard to feel bad for localizers losing their jobs to AI when they're mocking their own consumers? Here's another reply saying, you can read the source material and still can't do your job.
So if they escape Western media and they are suddenly putting money into your work, there is a reason why they're doing that. It must mean that your work as it stands, as it is, in its current form, is what people want. They're not going to throw money at you if they are not enjoying what you are giving them. And if you start changing certain things and aspects about your work that people already enjoy, you are going to lose your audience. We are going to jump on the next thing. What may be sexist to the localizers may not be sexist to us. And even if it is interesting to see another culture. There are many things that Westerners in this first world country think are offensive that are not offensive in other countries. And to place our insecurities and project our own preferences onto the cultures and societies of other people feels sort of like colonization. And these are the first people that will call people colonizers, but yet you're kind of walking in that footstep without even realizing that you're doing it. But anyway, what do you guys think about this? I think it should be left as is. If there are works out there that they want to translate that make them feel more comfortable, they can take those works. But if someone is paying you to do something, and even if they're not paying you to do it, it is just basic human rights respect to leave the person's art as it is and to be genuine. Localizers, it is not for you to decide what we find offensive or what we cannot handle. We are adults, and most of us who absorb or consume anime information and the shows that we watch are not led by our feelings about how much something offends us. They are cartoons, they're not based in reality. And even if they do, that is the artist's right to portray them that way based on their society or how the creator wants to portray the characters and that world. What if they're anime where they're showcasing an actual sexist environment and you take that out because it's too offensive to you? The meaning is lost now because you completely changed the context by way of your deceitful translation. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This has been Ultiori, You Ask, Me Answer.